Good afternoon. So, we've all heard the saying, you can't judge a book by its cover, right? Well, it's true. Just kind of look at this book here. If you just look at it, you have no idea what's going to be inside. And I'm here to tell you that this book in particular, this book is full of adventure, romance, sadness, humor, love, and even full of wisdom to help you get through your life. You want to know what one section of this wisdom was called? It's called Proverbs. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, what's a proverb? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about Proverbs today. A proverb in general is just a grouping. Well, I'm already here to say that I've used a proverb in this video, and you may not have even realized it. Because when I said you can't judge a book by its cover, that's an example of a proverb. You know, we use these proverbs every day in our lives without ever knowing it. But you may have never heard the word proverb or someone talk about proverbs in general. But I'm here to tell you what a proverb is, all right? Proverbs are a collection of wise sayings that offer advice on life. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? I mean, oh, hey, you're going to help me solve my life problems with a short little saying. They may not solve your life problems, but they are going to help you with certain situations. Every culture around the world has these proverbs, and they're all different. Even here in the USA, we have our own set of proverbs that may not make sense to other people in other countries. And you want to know why that we have these different proverbs across the world that don't make sense to one another? I'll let you in on a little secret. Our cultures are different from one another. The things we encounter, the things we learn, the problems that we face are all very different because of our cultures are just very different. And I'm here to tell you that even the Bible, in ancient times, even they had proverbs. And there were so many of them, in fact, there's a whole book of the Bible dedicated just to these proverbs. Now, could you ever imagine what a book like this might be called? I mean, the book of all wisdom, the great and mighty. How to fix your life in 30 days? Well, I'll give you a few moments to think about what you think it might be called. All right, you know what? I'll give you the answer. It's called the Book of Proverbs. Real simple, real straightforward, isn't it? I don't know why I wouldn't have thought of it myself. Now, you might think that this book might just be a little list, Proverb 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not quite like that. But it does give us some great proverbs. And there's some in there that you might know really well, some that you don't know at all. And there might even be some that you've heard that you think are in there, but they're not. I'll get more on that later. So, the book of Proverbs, let's talk about it just a little bit, so this way you can get a little more of a context as to what might be happening. The book is called, in the section of the Bible called the wisdom literature. Pretty aptly named. Proverbs are all about teaching us things. It's about giving and sharing wisdom to those around us. The wisdom literature section of the Bible in the Old Testament consists of Job, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, and Proverbs. Now, there's one in the New Testament that might be grouped with that, and it's the book of James. But for today, for right now, we're going to be talking about Proverbs. All right, so these books are grouped together because they are about wisdom. They're about, like I said, they're about teaching. And they're about passing on that wisdom of God from one follower, from one generation to the next, to the next, and to the next. And even today, we're not excluded from that. We are part of that generation that is craving that wisdom of God. I mean, if you weren't, would you really be listening to me right now? So let's get a little bit into the backstory of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs traditionally is thought to be written by King Solomon. Now, it's traditionally thought that because King Solomon was one of the wisest people in the Old Testament. And his wisdom wasn't something that he gloated about, that he gained on his own, through his own merit, through his own studies, but that it was God-given wisdom. Now, it's of my opinion that the entire book wasn't written by him. He probably didn't pen down the whole thing. Other people may have contributed to it. His scribes may have written down what they heard him say. You never quite know, because, I mean, let's face it, it was a long time ago, and we don't know for sure. It's not like we can analyze his handwriting versus the handwriting of Proverbs, or anything like that. But, so, we have this great book of knowledge that's part of the great book. And so, we know who wrote it. We kind of know what it's about so far, but who's it for? Well, that's a good question. Who could benefit from wisdom? Who could benefit from shared wisdom? How about everybody? Men, women, children, teachers, doctors, priests. It goes on and on. We all need this wisdom. And this wisdom's even viable today. Yeah, it was written thousands of years ago, and we might think it's time long past that they have nothing to do with us. But I'm here to tell you, the wisdom that's in the book of Proverbs, it means a lot even today. Now, I picked one out to just kind of illustrate what the Proverbs might sound like when you decide to pick it up and read it. And here's a hint. Pick it up and read it. You'll want to see what's in there. And in this one, it's Proverbs chapter 1, so right at the beginning, verse 7. You know, so early in a book, and they're getting so deep already. Might be something to this. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Whoa. Fools. Who are they talking about as fools? The fools are those who don't listen to knowledge. Those who want to take things that we teach them, take it for granted, and do their own thing. That might be considered a fool. Here it's saying, you know, the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Everything we know, believe it or not, it's come straight from God. God gives us our wisdom, our strength, knowledge to do everything that we do. Even today, you know, molecular science, brain surgery, microchips. We don't come up with that just all on our own. That knowledge comes from somewhere. We are given that divine inspiration to think of these things. So, if all that comes from God, why would people turn away from him? And those might be the fools you're thinking of, but I'm not here to say who King Solomon might be calling a fool. You know, it's just like when you're in school. You listen to what the teacher says. You listen to what they have to share to you, because you don't want to be the dumb kid. You want to listen to what they're saying, not despise what they're saying and not listen to them. So now, I've talked about proverbs that are in the Bible. And I've mentioned a proverb that isn't in the Bible. I mean, come on now. But let's talk about one that I hear a lot, that on the surface, it sounds really good. It might even sound like that it comes from the Bible. And guess what? For a long time, I really thought it was in there. Never thought anything of it. But how about I say it and you decide for yourself, is it actually in the Bible? So, God helps those who help themselves. Now, this is a really strong proverb, one that helps a lot of people. And, you know, it mentions God, so right off the bat, that sounds like it's a good jumping point for it to be in the Bible. Mentioning God's always a plus. But if we think about it a little more from what we know about God, is God only there for those who don't need him? No, that doesn't sound quite right. God is there to help the helpless, because guess what? We are all helpless. So while on the surface this might sound like this great and awesome proverb, one that you want to go around and share to your friends to inspire them, to say, hey, you know what? You're helpless. God's going to help you. And that's what we really want to tell them. But if we go around spouting this proverb, we're telling them, God won't help you. Really? The God I know sure helps. I'm totally depraved. There's nothing I can do on my own. So God's going to help me because I am helpless. So it's just like everything else that's out there in the world. TV, movies, newspapers, books, internet. Be careful what you're talking about. Know what you're repeating. If it's just because it sounds good doesn't mean it's always the right thing. So the book of Proverbs, it's a great book to live by, but make sure what you're saying and repeating is actually from there and know what it means. Take your time, do your research. It'll be well worth it in the end.